Hi everyone, Alain is with us today. He's enjoying a herbal tea. It feels good to drink with everyone. So Alain, you were quite far into dry fasting. You have extensive experience with water fasting, and it's good that you can share the differences you've noticed. And you were quite far along. You nearly completed 9 days. 8 days is impressive. 8 days is hard. You have to keep going. So, you had an issue. Can you explain? Why did you opt for this dry fast? First question. Why are you here? The second question concerns water fasting, but we'll talk about that later. I'll let you talk about your experience here.
A few years ago, in 2021, just after COVID, I started sound analysis. Classics. We doubt that potentially my professional troubles will impact me psychologically, and they certainly will. The tests reveal a small prostate cancer, stage 1, not yet growing. But it's still concerning, as my PSA has risen from 8 to 19.
Oh yes.
So, he sees it's progressing. At first, the PSA wasn't significant for him. He needed a rectal exam and a biopsy. Once the biopsy confirmed it, we knew roughly what the situation was. I was in the 20% of the unlucky, as he said. Anyway, a friend who has been doing Zen with me for ages, Nono, who had already been doing dry fasting, and occasionally a bit of dry fasting for 2 or 3 days, for Lyme disease, which he gradually managed to regulate. Well, maybe not completely cured, but his example inspired me. Then he began to tell me about someone in Vendée who practiced water fasting. Well, when I hear about Vendée, it resonates with me, so I feel a link. So, I undertook a fast for 21 days, and then 4 days at home. Water. The year after, we repeated it at a center more oriented towards Chinese practices, for 15 days, and there, we followed a Pushina diet.
See,
there it is. And this summer, I'm with my friend Nono. We thought, let's do it, let's take a tour of France and try to manage it alone. We spent 21 days on tourism and hiking. Water fasting again. The comparison we can make with dry fasting is that it's quite different, except that the process is very slow and gradual during water fasting. For me, the first week is a lethargic one where I go to coke cinema. The second week brings a slight boost in energy. Then I can hike, then I can walk, and the third week brings a surge of energy, an energy I didn't anticipate. Despite, of course, a bit of overall fatigue, but still, there's energy behind it. The dry fasting process concentrates everything into a much shorter duration. But as my buddy Nono says, you're going to wash the bowl. Truly. What I mean is that during water fasting, we provide water, but we don't examine the waste at the bottom. We won't go there. Stir the mud a little bit. And at that moment, bubbles emerge at the surface that are both physiological and emotional in nature.
clear.
And a significant amount of emotion. There, I will say to Christine, as I think you are a good test subject, my guinea pig name in this practice where we have a role to play. Feminine, somewhat like the mother. Yes, that's it. You shouldn't tell her about everyone else. The mother host, we could say, is like among the companions, a woman is needed to take care of all these pains. Indeed, there have been sections that were a bit complicated, somewhat harsh, with some ups and downs. I knew it was going to happen because, like in water fasting, we experience our fears, our anxieties, and the way others reflect back to us. Not eating is dangerous, etc. So, not eating is one thing, but not drinking properly. Are you sure?
This.
After consulting the guidelines and seeing the testimonies, it inspired me, and I thought, this is the best way to do water fasting. I think this is a fantastic experience, especially since it is focused over a limited time where we will work deeply. Indeed, I said it could be an extraordinary experience, and it is. It will leave marks for some time. That's for sure. Beyond that, beyond the physiological aspect of my illness, my first experience of water fasting confirmed certain feelings for me that I didn't fully believe in. Life brought me into contact with others like me who had somewhat broadened perceptions. We talk about consciousness expansion, states of awareness.
It's clear, the altered state of consciousness.
It's a general term, but it actually includes access to the unseen, so to speak, in mysticism, which differs significantly from one individual to another, yet there are commonalities. I felt reassured by the person who was living through similar things. I also came for that. The difficulty lies in creating a spiritual life request while simultaneously allowing oneself to be and to flow. To go with the flow, not necessarily having an absolute goal, but accepting things as they are and presenting oneself. If we don't put up barriers, if we don't impose comfort thinking, it becomes natural. And surprisingly natural. So, there were these two sides. The illness bolstered my spiritual side. A journey I had previously embarked on in Zen Buddhism, but now it feels tangible. Many religions are said to practice fasting or food restriction. I engaged in it outside of a Buddhist, religious, or genuinely spiritual framework. But it's not missing. It's actually quite prevalent, and we are increasingly discovering it. Often. Therefore, I am pleased with this journey. I believe I will carry on with it in my life. For me, as with the military, it's a method to train and become more self-reliant in this area. But also to develop spiritually. I think there are things to do, and I've been told 2 or 3 years since the breakthrough took place. I even got scolded by a medium who told me, "What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Oh, retirement? Oh yes, a government worker. Now, I'm not a government worker anymore, but I won't push fate. I allow things to unfold peacefully. And I don't know, whatever comes will come. But the experience is really fantastic. It becomes bright."
Yeah, do you feel this slightly altered state of consciousness? You sense it
When it works. Yeah. Coming here, it was already somewhat on track. It was a bit planned. It's a sensation I've experienced before, and it crosses my mind daily when talking to people. Now, it's become stronger. I spoke about it like this. In the daily workshop with 1, 2, or 3 people. And I tell her, well, I say, I don't say, I mention, I don't mention. Perhaps this is the time, it might be about being attentive. Then, it's more or less accepted. But it's more accepted in a workshop like this than in other training sessions. And people are fairly open. Let's use exploitation as an example.
When they are there, in principle, it seems they have come from somewhere. They don't just appear out of nowhere.
Cheers. This great ladder, because I think there's still more to climb.
Yes, 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 yes. Honestly, I feel we are just at the start of something, and with every workshop we conduct, we progress to new stages. I don't have the impression of arriving at something finished. It's always evolving, developing. I've known Marie-Christine for a little while, so there are things we still need to develop, to grow. And to have a supporter who becomes increasingly effective, who can help even more. But what is happening here is already very good for me. From what I can see elsewhere, I think we are really doing well. So, dry fasting has no equivalent in terms of therapeutic strength. If we mix in emotional aspects, letting people release their feelings, we genuinely have something quite effective. Not wanting to be overly interventionist, since it unfolds on its own, dry fasting pushes people to be resolute, and after a time, they can't keep it in, they will release it eventually. They will stop playing roles, and the masks will fall away. So, this is what happens during the workshops, and there you go. Then we progress with you. It's you who help us progress too. It's thanks to you that all this develops, thanks to your testimonies, thanks to everyone, it can expand. And there you go. We hope this dry fasting will carry on and that it won't be overlooked because we genuinely have something fascinating, a self-healing tool that people ought to know, that humanity should be aware of. For me, it's part of my life journey to make this known to the world and inspire others to engage with it. It's excellent. There's no competition in this area, no jealousy to feel. Each person can create their own method, and that's all there is to it. I took a method I saw and completely modified it, refined it, and it will only continue to evolve and change. To get better, and that's it. Marie-Christine and I think we have people who also reconsider their paths. We have aspects to improve, and I am also growing on my inner journey. There are things to work on too. Thus, dry fasting is never a finished process. It should be viewed as a therapy that is always evolving, and it's there to be utilized. It's vital to try things out. Reading books and viewing testimonials is beneficial, but practice is key, beginning with little actions. It's by doing small practices that we achieve the bigger ones. Thus, we begin with small fasts and gradually raise the intensity. For those with health problems, it's essential to have support. The group's impact, as you've observed, is helpful. We can draw on the group's power. I always said, you see a 30 to 40% boost in effectiveness when in a group versus at home, and it might be even more, as fasting in your Paris flat is not like being here with all that's around. Around us, it's like day and night. I mean, you can't compare. We're in something that, I don't know, is 30 or 40% better,
It's the
maybe
green.
even more.
I'm not certain.
60%,
It's
that's
60.
it.
The few days, the 2 or 3 days I did dry fasting from time to time, enabled me to address fear and worry. I think it's unavoidable for all. We will encounter our own fears, and we will see that the mind isn't very involved in this. Gradually, a process occurs, and the mind will slowly let go. And as you mentioned, we are nearly forced to release. This passage is unavoidable. If we resist, we will endure even greater suffering. Thus, it's amusing because there are aspects that all spiritual teachers prompt us to explore on our own. As Marie-Christine says, it's within the space, not in the strange things
There's nothing
outside.
external.
I better understand the aspect of fasting within religious or spiritual frameworks.
Absolutely.
I can see the link between cleansing the body and cleansing the mind. Everything is linked. And I'll reassure you, my children, I'm still here, I'm not dead, I'm alive. And I assure my family, you can tell I'm well. I'll gain a bit of weight when I arrive.
There are no details on that.
But safely, in any case, wonderfully accompanied by Michel, who has experience, and unlike certain individuals who say they are naturists and fasters, he has actually experienced it. It's not just talk. He has written a book that serves as a Bible. So much info that I'd find spread out online, like we all do. And here, we have studies that are thorough. This is not abstract, nor is it merely theoretical. It's not high. Rather, it brings us back to reality.
That's it.
Peace on earth is for life.
Indeed, I consider myself a rather rational individual. I am open-minded, yet I prefer things to be clear-cut. So, we are not engaging in overly abstract ideas. However, dry fasting does push you to be a bit more open and curious, as I, at the beginning, didn't have much faith in this method of fasting. And then I thought, no, I will check it anyway, because when I receive information, I will verify it, and there you go, I checked it myself, and then I experimented, and afterwards, I have my views on this. Many judge without knowing. Lots of people, high-ranking individuals, well-known in natural medicine, including doctors, etc., who create theories on fasting, but they've never fasted for 24 hours, skipped a meal, or done intermittent fasting. They don't know what it is. So these folks, there's no credibility to give them in this field.
In contrast, some doctors are well-versed, often retired, and not at risk of being sanctioned by any authority. They start writing books on these alternative medicines. They reveal the underlying aspects of their medical practice experience, and then they open up to it. But I want to say, good science is good, bad science is bad. They felt the shift in trends as well. There's always a business side to it. That's a bit sad.
Yes, that's how it goes. Thank you so much, Alain, for sharing your insights, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks, goodbye.